and welcome to this latest video from eDub Services. My name is Kit Lacey, Managing Director here, and I am joined by Hannah, who is a bit of an extra special guest for us. Hannah was the first person to hire our latest eDub, part of the eDub franchise, our latest eDub, Maggie, who some of you may have seen a lot of information about online. And so I thought it would be really fun to bring Hannah along to tell us a little bit more about her story, about her trip, about her experience, and for you guys to kind of learn a little bit more about what it's like to hire something like Maggie. So first of all, welcome, Hannah. How are you?
Hello, thank you. I'm really good, thank you. It's been nice to reminisce about the trip in preparation for this. So yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Any excuse to reminisce is a good excuse.
I know.
It should be in the calendar, I think. We need to like structure it. Like an hour of reminiscing. Do us good. Mental health and all the rest of it.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So yeah, I want to kind of jump in and dive in with everybody seems to have their own story about camper vans and about love of campers or history of campers, and so I want to start there. Like, where did the kind of passion for classic campers start with you?
So when I was at high school, so from like the age of 11 to 16, a big group of us used to walk to and from school together, and on that route there was like a really old 70s orange camper, and me and my friend Amy used to walk past it every day and be like, oh, one day. I think they're just so cool looking at them. You can't deny, like, when you look at them, they just look so interesting and characterful. And we used to walk past this one and be like, maybe we'll go to prom in a camper van, or maybe one day we'll have an adventure in a camper van. So it all started there. And I think it's because in like a little seaside town, it was quite a vibrant, unusual thing to see something like that in a driveway. So yeah, we just used to love walking past it, and sometimes seeing it out on the road and being like, oh, there's the camper van. So yeah, it started there, I suppose. And then when the internet became more of a thing in my life and I discovered Pinterest and YouTube and all the different kind of places where you can see adventures happening, I started dreaming about it. And like, I can't exaggerate what a genuine dream it was to actually experience going in Maggie, because for so long I'd looked at photos of it and imagined what it could be like and what it would feel like. And I suppose sort of thought that it might never happen as well. There was that kind of sense of like, this is so cool and potentially might not ever be an experience I get to have, because it just seems like this like amazing otherworldly thing. So yeah, to discover you guys and then get the chance to do it was genuine dream come true. So yeah, still buzzing about it.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, that kind of leads me to the next question of how did you first come across eDub? Why don't you tell us a bit more about that story? I know obviously my side of it. Yeah, what's it from your perspective?
So it was a total fluke, to be honest. So I live in Sheffield, so every year there's a festival here called the Sheffield Outdoor Film Festival, Sheffield Adventure Film Festival.
Yeah.
That's the one. And that happens at the showroom here in Sheffield, and there's loads of different films from like all over the world, but also some that are filmed locally in the Peak District. And there's like little bits and bobs that you can go to as well as the films. So there's like workshops and repair kind of stations and lots of like little foodie stalls and stuff like that. So I always try and go to that every year and like go and see a few films. And then I was flicking through the programme this year and then noticed that there's going to be like an actual camper van coming to the festival as well. I'm like, I think it was maybe Saturday afternoon. And I was like, ooh, but so the original, because I think you did 2 talks, didn't you? And one of the main one that you did, I'd already booked a film for. So I was like, no, I can't go to the main talk. But then there was like a drop-in thing in the afternoon. So I went to see the film and then came to the drop-in session in the afternoon. And like, obviously it was Indy that was at the festival, which is obviously the green camper. And I saw that just literally parked up in the middle of was it the showroom or was it the workstation? I can't remember.
It was in the workstation. We intentionally like we kind of dominated the space without permission.
Yeah.
We just rolled the shutters up and stuck it kind of half in the road so you couldn't miss it. Yeah. It
was brilliant. And I remember walking in and being a bit like, I don't know where this talk is happening. But then afterwards I realised that you'd been sat there the whole time. And it was just really nice to be able to have that like really intimate kind of one-on-one chance to chat about all the different questions that I had, because I also hadn't ever anticipated that I would if I ever did have a camper experience, that it would be an electric camper experience. So that was like a whole other element that was really exciting, because I didn't even know it existed or was possible. And obviously with like campers, they're the vast majority of the time they're diesel, so that's not super ideal for the planet. So yeah, I was really excited when I was like, oh my god, it's a camper and it's electric. So yeah, that was really cool.
That was back in, it was about April, I think, earlier on this year.
I think so, yeah. It feels like ages ago, but I think, yeah, it was about April.
Well, now it's getting colder again. I feel like it's starting to be a bit more reminiscent of that slightly chillier weather.
Yeah.
The summer that we've had. But it's quite cool what you're saying there about having the kind of one-on-one thing. We've got an eDub Open Day coming up on the 15th of October, which is, again, another really fun experience for anybody that wants to come down, see the campers, experience them in a slightly similar way to how you did. And have some of that one-on-one conversation with myself or some of the team to ask all the set. And I remember you kind of, I think it was about half an hour, 40 minutes or so. You just kept going. What about this? What about that? What about the other?
I know.
Yeah, just kept going. And so, yeah, people can come and do that on the 15th of October, come down to our open day, which is really great. So I want to talk a little bit more about the trip.
Yes.
So you were the first to take it away.
I know.
I remember we were on email back and forth, kind of saying it's going to be ready at this date around here. This is what we're aiming for. Because when you saw us with Indy, Maggie wasn't completed yet. So tell me more about your trip. Where did you go in Maggie?
So I love the Lake District and really, really wanted to go there for the trip. And then when I spoke to you about like the potential of like an electric van, because I didn't quite realise that you could just charge up, keep going, charge up, keep going, charge up, keep going. Like, I think at first I thought you'd have to sort of decide where you were going within a certain range, and then that's where you'd go. So then when I realised that I could go much further than just like one charge's worth of van, I was very excited. So we booked the Lake District, and I was a bit unorganised actually. So I'd booked the van and everything was sorted, and then I was suddenly like, oh yeah, I need to book a campsite. And I went on PitchUp and booked the very last option available in the Lake District at the time that I'd booked the van, and I was sort of like, whew. So we ended up staying near Thirlmere Reservoir, which is kind of north of Helvellyn and about a 15-minute drive from Keswick. So we stayed there for 3 nights. It was amazing. Do you want me to talk you through like the journey there and what we did and the journey back? Or
I'm curious about because you didn't just take a motorway to get there.
No.
Which is what we always recommend. Yeah, we kind of say to people, don't do that, it's boring. Like, try the different routes. So tell me a bit more about that.
It's funny because when you sent the questions through the day, I was talking to my boyfriend about what the highlights had been, and we both said that our like number one highlights was the journey there and the journey back. Because so the journey there, we did sort of late afternoon. We went from like the eDub main warehouse workshop base, and we drove to Hawes, which is like an hour away-ish, which is like a lovely little villagey town. And then we charged up for a bit there and explored round Hawes and had some tea in this really nice pub, which was nice. And then we made the journey from Hawes to the Lake District. And if you'd not suggested that, we would have gone on a motorway. And actually the journey from Hawes to the Lake District, oh God, I could cry literally talking about it, was at sunset. So we set off from Hawes and was driving just with nobody else around through like hills and mountains, and the sun was setting, and then all of a sudden these like wild ponies just came out of nowhere, and we pulled into like a little lay-by and got out and just stood and watched the van in like the foreground of the sun setting with these wild ponies. And it was just like, it was like something out of a film. It was unbelievable. And then we were like, oh, we do need to get onto the campsite actually, so we'll get back in and we'll set off. And I was just driving and like looking around, and I just was like crying because it was just so magical. I was like, I can't believe that this is our reality right now. It was amazing. And I think that's something that's so nice about the camper, is that like, as soon as you're in it, it's like the adventure starts, and like it feels like, because I've done car journeys like that before, but like not ever as magical with the sunset and the ponies. But just being in the van adds this whole other element of like adventure and freedom, and the sense of just having everything that you need with you. And yeah, it's kind of like this other kind of peace, I suppose, because it's like this is just where you are in this moment, soaking up all this amazing nature. And yeah, it felt like the way we're supposed to live as human beings. It was amazing. And then we got to the campsite a little bit later than we said we would, because we'd just been like, oh, this is amazing. But it was fine. They were really sweet there. They didn't mind at all. So yeah, that was amazing. And then, our journey there was at sunset, and then our journey back was at sunrise. So on the way back, there was like little bunnies in the road, like we were driving back, and then the sun was rising, and we got out and was wrapped in like little blankets watching the sunrise on the way back. And yeah, it was just amazing, totally amazing. So even though, and I texted my friend like when we'd got to the campsite saying, if that was all that we got to experience just driving here, like I'm happy. And then we still got to have like an amazing 3 days as well. So it was amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting. I love that. I remember someone mentioning that to me ages ago, about this idea that in a camper, the holiday starts as soon as you set off the driveway. So therefore, ever since I first learned that many years ago, and it kind of hit home, I was always about, therefore that experience needs to be as perfect as possible. And that comes down to the aesthetics of the van, so how it looks and how it feels. But so much of that is about the drive as well. It's about the piece of your electric drive, so it's silent, it doesn't make a noise. And again, it's quite like, it's not clunky, it's not awkward. You don't have to be thinking, what gear do I need to be in? Because it's just single speed, you're just driving.
I couldn't believe that. I've never driven an electric anything before. And just like the smoothness and the ease of it was like, I got into it so quickly, and then I got back into my car afterwards and I was like, oh my God, how do I drive?
That's amazing. And again, because Maggie as well, you mentioned this to me, Maggie as well, it's a left-hand drive because it's in America, and it's going to Germany eventually as a franchise option there for people to experience in Germany. And you mentioned something to me about how you got used to the left-hand drive. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so like I said, I've never driven an electric vehicle, I've never driven an automatic vehicle, and I've never driven a left-hand drive. So I was a little bit like, oh, how is this going to go? And I remember you saying like, after the first mile or so, you'll be absolutely fine. And I'm thinking like, oh, I don't know if this is the case. And it was so true. Like I felt so comfortable after, particularly after kind of the first day. And it was really nice to like be in a different space in the road and like not have to worry about using like the gear stick or anything like that. You literally just turn it on, press it down, and off you go. And I really liked is it regenerative braking? Yeah, because I thought, because obviously like, the brake's a little bit harder than in like a normal car, I suppose. So I've really got quite good at doing like the regenerative braking, and like being able to see it on the dashboard, like, oh, now it's like not using the charge because we've like come off it, and now it's like, save the charge. So yeah, it was amazing. I think like for the first mile, my boyfriend was a bit like, oh, just move over a little bit because you are like on the opposite side of what you're used to. But then it's just, it felt so normal, which I was really, really surprised at, because I've never driven anything that's like bigger than a car either. I've never driven a van, anything like that. So I was surprised at how quickly it felt really comfortable. And because the wheels like quite a lot bigger, I felt like quite powerful. I was like,
and you're high up as well. And you're like, it's like, this feels great.
Yeah, I loved it. And it was so cute. Like there's obviously quite a few people in like vans and campers in the Lake District, but none as beautiful as Maggie, I will have to say. But it's like you become part of this like little family, because everyone's like waving at you from like their VW, and I was sort of like, oh, they're waving at us. Oh. Yeah, it's really fun.
It's really interesting. I remember, I think for like the first few years when we had Maggie first on the road and we'd drive, and people would drive toward, and they'd flash their lights at you. And for a while, I kind of thought like, what's going on? Why are they doing that? And then I just kind of turned on my brain and said, they're just saying hi.
Yeah.
and a few times people would wave, and I wouldn't wave back, so I'd wait to check who it was to see if I knew who it was.
I know that?
And then I was just like, if I'm in Indy, I'm just like, I just wave back. That's just what happens. And sometimes they're in campers, sometimes they're not. What my favourite thing to do is to wave at some of the more modern campers, because they're normally a bit, sorry to anyone listening, they're normally a little bit grumpier. Or they're normally like they're in their vans or their whatever. But I still kind of like, I'm like, yeah, another VW. And I kind of like to watch them kind of going grumpy and then going like.
Reluctantly, like,
just break it.
acknowledging you.
Yeah, exactly. We are both in VWs. You are in the club. You can't. Yeah, that's really fun. I love all of that so much. And again, like, we'll drive past kids and stuff.
Well, that's it. Like, because I used to be that kid, and I'm kind of still that adult where, like, you see the van on the road and it's like that I could do that one day. And that was something that was really nice about, like, we parked up at Derwent Water because we went canoeing one day, and like, people were like looking at it like, oh my god, is that electric? And I'd love to do that. And I was like, you can totally do that. Like, I used to think, oh, one day I'd love to do that, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to. And then, like, you can do that. Like, go and meet these people at the events, go and talk to them, find out, and then make it happen. Like, you could be driving the van and waving at people. Like, yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
You can't see it, you can't imagine it.
Exactly. Yeah, we kind of have this thing now where we're very open about trying to get as many people as possible to experience electric classic campers, and that experience is the most important thing, because we know that for a lot of people the conversions are expensive, and we're not denying that. We're not going to try and argue that they're not, but so therefore we're very intentional about having the hire option as a really key part of what we offer, because then it just brings the barriers of people being able to experience it a lot wider. So yeah, I'm infinitely pleased every time someone goes away and comes back, and I think we're always getting 5-star reviews on stuff, which is amazing. But I just love it. And again, it's similar things to what you said when people take it away. But I'm just so excited now about Maggie, that's got, you know, the bigger range than Indy, and it's got the automatic drive than Indy. Just so many things are just smoothed out a little bit more. So I'm really excited for more people to kind of check that out as well. But yeah, I mean, to kind of finish off with a final question here, if somebody's thinking about eDub, thinking about either hiring something or maybe talking to us about conversions, what would you say to those people who are thinking about getting involved with eDub?
Oh, I'd say give yourself the treat of the experience, because it's so special, and the care that you get from you guys, from like the experience point of view, just gives you everything that you could need to have an amazing time. Like, if you have any nerves about it, or you're not sure about what it would be like to drive it, like, go and see you, because from my experience, like, the way that we interacted from when I first met you just completely filled me with confidence about going for it. And even when we got there and you gave us like a test drive and all that kind of stuff, like, it's such a lovely experience to have with you. I think there's something really unique about it being with you guys, is the experience that you get. And also, what's so nice is that you can just give it a go for even one night or 2 nights and see how you feel. And I can't imagine anyone not having an amazing time. Just the whole thing is just built for, like, you to be comfortable and to enjoy yourselves. And even like the little touches from, like, having spoons available, and like the USB plugs, all that kind of stuff in the van, it's just built for you to have a special time. And I know adventuring is a privilege and we're in tough times at the moment, but if it's something that you can afford to do, then you won't regret it. It's absolute magic. We had the best time.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, it's amazing. I mean, going slightly off professional for a second, it's really nice to hear you say things like that after building eDub for the last 9 years or so. It's kind of one of these moments to be in a place like this and know that the kind of, because you were mentioning about earlier on the call about how this has been a dream of yours. Like, this is my version of that dream, is seeing them ready, completing them, seeing the vision of what I saw 9 years ago coming to a place where it is now. Where people can have the amazing experiences that you've had. So I want to thank you again for your time this morning. It's great to chat to you again. And yeah, if anybody's interested in what we've been talking about today, there's loads of links all over the place that will take you to the different websites. edubtrips.co.uk is the main place to hire the campers. If you want more information about conversions, come to our open day on the 15th of October, or get in touch with us via edubconversions.co.uk or edubservices.co.uk. You can call us as well at the workshop. There's always someone on the end of the phone to have a chat with you about the options that are available here. But yeah, just to kind of sign off there, say thanks again, Hannah. It's really good to speak to you again, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Oh, you definitely will.
Can't keep you away. Awesome. Right. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll chat to you again soon. Bye.
Bye.